Hey everyone, it's Lexie. So in today's video I'll be sharing with you my Slytherin reads. So these are books that have some sort of Slytherin aspect, whether it's characters or general plot of the story. So I looked up online, and so Slytherins appreciate and are ambitious, shrewd, and cunning. So these are books that either feature those characters or have the plot for it. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. So starting out, I first have the Queen of the Tearling trilogy by Erika Johanson. I think this book really showcases people that are very cunning, and I feel like in general, a lot of people find the characters in here to be very unlikable, but in general I really like them. I thought they were more realistic because they were complex, they were flawed, and all that. But particularly Kelsey, I feel for a lot of people, she rubs people along the wrong way, and just because she's very calculating, she thinks very hard about kind of her actions and all of that. I don't mean like Slytherin in a bad way, just being that ambitious and cunning and all that. So she's definitely very interesting. I really like her. She's such a complex character, and all the characters here, like the Red Queen in here as well, is also kind of similar to Kelsey, where they're both very complex female characters that aren't kind of cookie cutter in the sense that everyone loves them. So I really like this trilogy, and I want to reread it again. It's really interesting, and yeah, I think a lot of you guys will like this. So yeah, definitely one of my favorite kind of adult fantasy trilogies. Next, I have Strike from the Cormoran Strike series by Robert Galbraith or J.K. Rowling. And what I like about Strike is he's very cunning in terms of how he solves his crime. He's a private investigator, and he's very calculated in terms of how he solves these crimes. He very much gets into the head of these killers, and what I like about this one is that Strike will figure it out, but you kind of figure it out with him. And so sometimes you follow another character's point of view, Robin, who's his sidekick almost, and so you're following her perspective, but Strike figured it out a couple chapters ago, and so you kind of roll into it as Robin's discovering these things. And he's just very he's not afraid to get dirty, which I really like about him. He's very unlovable in that sense, but he is very, again, kind of Kelsey, he's very complex, he's flawed, but he's also very lovable at the same time. It's a very unique combination of feelings that I have for Strike. But yeah, like I said, he's very interesting, and he definitely would have been a Slytherin, hands down, because J.K. Rowling wrote this, and so I feel like he's a Slytherin and Robin's a Ravenclaw, so it's kind of a good mashup between the two. So next, I have basically every character in Gone Girl. This book I read several years ago, way before the movie came out, and I was just blown away by just how mind-twisting this book was, and just how the characters were so unlikable, but you were so invested in the plot that it was just oh my goodness. And especially Amy in particular, she is so cunning, and oh my god, if you've read this book, you know, and I'm sure most of you know about this, so it's very interesting. I think just the whole pan out and the big reveal and the big twist in here, it shows just how calculating she is. I feel like that's a common thing that I've talked about these other books, is that Slytherins are very calculating, and they kind of think what will better them in the future. So definitely Amy in here, and basically every other character in this is flawed in some spec, but they're all cunning in their own way, and they have their own board, they're playing chess basically with each other. So yeah, definitely all the characters in here, hands down. Next, I have Mean Streak by Sandra Brown. So I don't want to give too much away in terms of the plot, but there is one character in here, total Slytherin, and you can't, if you've read this, you'll know who I'm talking about, but I don't want to give too much away because that's a big reveal. But oh my goodness, this character had me played throughout the whole thing, and I didn't even suspect this person at all. Very cunning, ambitious, and it was very in terms of basically the premise of this is a girl who is married, is practicing for a triathlon, so she goes and runs in the Smoky Mountains, and ends up someone attacks her, and she's left for dead basically, and this mysterious man picks her up and kind of takes her to his cottage so she can kind of heal. But it was very well calculated in terms of who actually planned this, and it was just very interesting. It's especially with Sandra Brown books, I find her books are very fast paced and like every chapter ends on a cliffhanger. So like this one was very much kept me engaged the whole time, but oh my goodness, the bad person in here, yeah, it is so good. So if you haven't read this one yet, definitely pick this up if you kind of like the thriller mystery ones, because it was so good. And finally, I have Kath from Heartless, and basically, I'm sure you guys know this, but it's basically a retelling or kind of a prequel to Alice in Wonderland, how the Queen of Hearts became the Queen of Hearts. And so part of her, like, Kath's personality, she's very ambitious, I'll say that, but she is very much circumstantial. Like, circumstances made her the queen that we know from Alice in Wonderland, and it's very interesting seeing that, like how she was someone who had dreams and aspirations and she was very ambitious about what she did, but the circumstances around everything made her evil. So it's very interesting and complex in here. I'm not really familiar with the original Alice in Wonderland, like I never read that, like the original book, but I've seen the Disney movie, but that was like years ago, so like I'm not familiar with it. But I really like this because it was more of like a clean slate, and it's like I know how she ends up, but it was interesting to see like the things that led her down this path. So she's, like I said, she's very ambitious, she's very driven, which I think definitely fits her as a Slytherin, not because she goes bad, but just kind of her general personality in the beginning. But it wasn't in malice, as it is kind of later on. But yeah, definitely, I really love this book and all that. So yeah. So that's it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what some of your Slytherin reads are and all of that fun stuff. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.